Hi everyone, and welcome to the Pisces Weekly Illumination Reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. So these readings are meant to engage you with the Triad of Engagement, which focuses on utilizing the three core principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation, and demonstrating how when applied together in your life, they can bring awareness to your unique internal authentic self and how best to engage those parts of yourself with your external environment so that you can better understand and experience your personal spiritual purpose. All right, so I'm going to start here with pulling a card, an advice card here. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a question around the card that comes out to help bring this, one comes right out, to help bring this, what is a very general reading here, to a individualized place for each one of you, so that this question is meant for you to basically ask yourself throughout the week to bring awareness to some aspect of your unique internal self in the effort of answering it that Spirit would like you to become aware of. And by the end of the week, hopefully you have that answer and therein make this reading personalized for you. All right. So we are stepping into the power of curiosity. What does that mean? We are starting fresh with that optimistic awe and wonder and the belief and knowledge that we actually don't know everything about everything. We are stepping into that place where we want to break through those barriers of where we always say that, sorry guys, hold on just a moment. Sorry, I had a call coming through there. I had to stop that. Okay, so this is where we get to break through those barriers where we start to tell ourselves, this always happens when I do X, Y, and Z. These type of people are always like this. This work environment will always be this way. I will never like this. I am always like this. I can't change. And we want to break through that. We want to become curious this week, like a child who doesn't know much about anything and is pleasantly surprised at what they discover. We want to bring that excitement and that curiosity inward towards ourselves to then better understand how we are meant to engage with our external environment, our lives. All right, so the card that came out here is Caregiver. And it says, we are with you, and Spirit has its own way of recognizing the care and love you provide to others, especially at the end of their lives, just as you received care and love at the start of your life. Caregivers often focus all their attention on their loved ones and often neglect their own concerns and well-being in the process. I think the main message that comes through here, Pisces, is this element of self-neglect through focusing on helping others or being overly sensitive and empathetic to the other people that are around you. And where that can become a little tricky is when we do that so much to the point that we are not engaging our unique internal authentic self with our environment, with others, which are a part of our external environment, because we are so worried that it might rock the boat with somebody else, that it might not be well received, and so why bring that part of ourselves out there, that you don't want to create a fight or an argument, and also you want to help kind of ease the situation when you're in social. I'm really getting a social setting coming through very strongly, that you want to make sure that everybody else is happy, that everybody else is able to express themselves. Pisces, you're a really unique water sign. You are the last astrological sign of the Zodiac. You actually are a very powerful sign in that you harness both the ability to kind of go up into the, it's a world of spirit and maybe what we would call light in heaven, depending on how you view the mysteries of the great unknown. And you can also go down into the depths, into the darkness. Your sign is the two fish, and they can each swim in different directions. And so you have this really unique ability to harness the spiritual ascension as well as going down and kind of to the depths and the darkness of our experience as human beings. And sometimes, though, that can get to a place where you almost understand things too well, and you don't want others to experience your experience of what going into the depths can be like. And so in order to prevent them from having to kind of suffer through that, you try to kind of bypass yourself and focus on elevating them. And this can not even just be in interpersonal, let's say friendships or romantic partnerships, but this can also be in the work environment. You might feel the need to do this with your manager or boss or with the other coworkers or team members that you work with. And this can be, again, to your detriment, that you're not the one to step up and say, hey, what about me? And I know we don't want to come across as selfish. We don't want to come across as the ones that rock the boat. But really where you're being called this week to bring awareness to some aspect of yourself is so if you're asking a question, and you're going to be kind of keeping this in mind throughout the week, and I know that this is being released later on in the week, so this carries over into the next week. Where are you giving over or bypassing yourself to elevate others? And again, this can be perhaps you do it in all aspects of your life, work, home, interpersonal, family relations, or this could be where you're doing it in one specific area where, let's say, it's only when you get in with a certain friend group. And maybe you're starting to realize this week that these people don't really know who you are because you've never really expressed yourself, because you've never felt comfortable in doing so, because the people that you're surrounded with all have their own maybe wounding or issues, or don't care to know the type of person you feel that you are. And you're starting to realize that you're not being seen and supported. Or same in a work environment, that perhaps you were not being seen and supported in a work environment, and you were constantly trying to help others, elevate others. You're the one pulling the team forward, or you're the one giving your boss the pat on the back instead of vice versa. And you're realizing now, hey, I deserve that. I deserve to have a little bit of myself given that pat on the back. And again, this can be difficult. This can be actually a really strong realization. Sorry, I need to drink a little water here. A really strong realization when we start to become aware of perhaps where we are choosing not to allow ourselves to be seen. And when we realize too that perhaps sometimes when we decide then to start making ourselves seen, it's not well received. This can be where maybe you entered a social group under a certain pretense, and maybe after being with them, some things have changed in your life. I mean, this could be where you were with a social group for years, and all of a sudden you have had a dramatic change, or you've gone through life events and your perspective has changed, and now you feel like you want to share that with them, but they're not the group anymore to support that part of yourself. And so instead of hiding yourself away, this is time to realize maybe it's time to remove yourself from that group, and there will be others to support the new version of you. Or if there's not a new version of you, it might just be yourself, and that this would look like realizing that a partnership is not a beneficial, supportive one, that you're constantly having to hide or you're the one constantly having to put aside yourself to appease the other. And that is not what a supportive romantic relationship is about. So this is really one of those weeks where, in really keeping focus and bringing awareness to where you don't feel comfortable just being yourself, where you feel like you have to hide that in order to elevate others, this is that shining the light of curiosity like a spotlight on, okay, this is where you need to focus. This is going to illuminate some area of yourself that actually you need to bring out, and it's going to show you where there needs to be a change that happens in your life, whether it's leaving a social group or whether it's simply just getting the courage to start expressing yourself, or where it's going to be where maybe you need to leave a work environment because you are not getting the recognition that you deserve. So be it. Hold on 1 minute, guys. All right, thanks Pisces for being understanding. I had a life got in the way moment. So as you can see, I'm even in a different outfit because this is being filmed later on in the day. All right, so to pick back up with, just to kind of finalize what we were saying regarding the concept of bypassing yourself for the sake of others. So this is really going to be a week to bring awareness to where you are doing that, where you're putting aside yourself and not engaging your internal authentic self with your external environment, specifically with thought to others. And where that's going to be illuminated for you is going to show you where you need to kind of focus. So if that's in your workplace, if that's in the home, if that's with a specific interpersonal connection, that's going to allow you to first see perhaps a dynamic that needs to change. And also, what part of yourself are you hiding? Do you not feel comfortable expressing? All right, now we're going to pull a energy oracle card here to engage us with the core principle of courage. And courage is where we get to step into having courage to make conscious decisions and take conscious action. This is where we get to engage our free will as we engage ourselves with our external environment, which is the seat of destiny. So we can't control our external environment. We can't control change that comes in out of the blue, and we can't control other people. But where we can control our experience is within ourselves. So we can choose to take specific actions or make specific decisions that allow us to engage ourselves with our external environment, so engage free will with destiny, to experience our life and to really, when I say live ourselves into life, that's what I mean when I say that we are courageously taking conscious action, meaning we are aware of all those little decisions we make every day. And instead of just kind of zoning out and moving through them without giving all of those little decisions a thought, we actually give importance to each and every one and bring ourselves into it. What actually is beneficial to us in that moment? We're not going to just, and this is actually very key to what we were just talking about, because the more you start to take action or make decisions based on yourself versus others, or just kind of moving through things automatically, that's when you start to really engage yourself. Not just engaging as far as kind of almost being like on a physical level, like in a robot kind of way. You're engaging your spiritual and emotional self. You're engaging that part of you that is the decision-making core. And that is how we end up being able to control our experience without having to make the very difficult attempt to control what's outside of our sphere of control, which is our external environment. All right, so we have 2 cards that came out. And interestingly enough, wow. So 2 of these cards -1 came out for, oh gosh, I don't know if it was Scorpio. I want to say Scorpio. So you guys might be dealing with a Scorpio. I would recommend even watching their video if you have a Scorpio in your life, or if you have strong Scorpio placements in your birth chart. But we have Angel of Balance, which is number 48, breaking down to the number 12, further breaking down to the number 3, which I really see as the number of divinity. And then we have Caring Connections, number 14, breaking down to number 5, which for me is freedom through change. That's what that number represents there. So there's something here about balance within interpersonal connections. And I think that this is beautiful when we're thinking about taking courage and having the courage to take action on our own behalf. That's exactly this. Understanding that there has to be a balance between you and others. And with the Caring Connection card, I always love this because there is, with the number 14 coming through, there's this element of temperance. So the temperance card in the tarot is number 14, which I always look at as a number of divine intervention. It's or a card of divine intervention. It kind of harnesses that element of being able to temper two things, fire and water, to create something new, but also to help create balance through that. And when we're thinking about balance, and we're thinking about tempering, and we're thinking about kind of evening the scales here between you and others, and then we think about freedom through change. Well, what really needs to change for you? So this is courageously stepping into changing how you approach interpersonal connections, how you approach sharing yourself, and bring that into balance. That is the courage. That is the courage you need to have and take this week. Really understanding that this can be for you, which is and it doesn't have to be a man and a woman specifically, but really, if you are somebody looking for a caring connection, or you wish that one of your connections was more in line like this, which let me use my words, is supportive, or was more supportive, then you have to step up first and be willing to courageously show yourself. And that can feel vulnerable. And, it's interesting that Scorpio's message is coming through, because that was a big portion of Scorpio's message, was vulnerability. And really understanding that especially when you're sharing a new version of yourself, that it can feel very vulnerable, very naked, very raw, and it can be scary to allow others to get close to that. Now for you, Pisces, there's this quality here coming through of just stepping into that place of strength, courage-based, where you take action to show your true self, because that's going to bring in and attract situations and people who are meant to support that version of yourself. If you don't bring that into balance in your interpersonal connections, then what's going to end up happening is there's going to continue to be an imbalance, which means that the energy of love, which I do feel is the connective energy between everything, cannot come in to you. You have a hard time receiving love if you're not actively giving of yourself as who you are. If you're constantly giving outward, it's very hard to receive if you're so focused. When you come into balance with the sharing of yourself and with the energy of love, you are able to give as well as receive at the same time, in the same flow, with that sense of balance. So there is this element coming through, Pisces, of it's time to, with every action you take this week, really focus on bringing yourself out. If that means sharing some aspect of yourself, that is important, and bravely doing so. And if the people around you are not well receptive, well, then that's your key to unlocking a part of your experience that needs to change right now, because that part of yourself that either others are not accepting of or you are too afraid to share is really what Spirit is asking you to bring out in this moment. Okay, so now for the last card, we're going to engage the core principle of contemplation. And contemplation is where we get the chance to go from conscious action to active reflection. And what does active reflection mean? It means that we are always engaged with reflecting on the consequences of each and every action and decision we choose to make and take throughout the day. So this isn't just contemplation time, meaning I have 30 minutes of dedicated meditation on Tuesdays. This is every day, every time you take an action, you are actively reflecting on the direct consequence or reaction from that action or decision you made. So This allows us to learn and self-educate through direct experience with our external environment. It also allows us to prevent us from becoming stagnant. Oh, beautiful. Well, this is perfect. Yin, number 2. And this card is all about receptivity. Number 2 is harnessing the power of caring connections. It's harnessing the power of working with others, of balance, of harmony. And yin is it's feminine energy. It's receptive energy. That's why its symbol is the open cup, the open chalice. So there's a quality coming through here of actually the Ace of Cups from the tarot. That remembrance or reminder that we always have this cup that comes directly from spirit, from source, that is always overfloweth, meaning it is always full and it is always ours to take. And it's specifically ours and specifically filled with what will bring us ultimate emotional fulfillment. That's the gift from the divine. But we can't step into that. We can't enjoy that cup until we start to become aware of what is in our cup, what provides us with that emotional fulfillment. So as you're actively reflecting this week, each and every time you stand up courageously and you express and take action from your authentic self, it's also about opening yourself up to receiving love for who you are, actively reflecting on what is in your cup. What does bring emotional fulfillment? What part of yourself right now that you perhaps are too afraid to share with others or too afraid to bring out in a workplace? What is at the core root of how that could bring emotional fulfillment if you freed that part of yourself? So when we're thinking about freedom through change and changing how, with the number 2, you work with others, how you bring harmony into your life through interpersonal connection, what part of that part of yourself that you're too afraid to share could actually be beneficial to others and be well received? And what is that going to bring into you? How does that fill your cup? How is that going to, because the closer you get to that feeling of emotional fulfillment, to understand what fills your cup, to understand that this, let's say, there's a part of yourself that you want to share that, let's say you are a IT worker. I'm just going to put this out there. You're an IT worker, but what really fills your cup is working with children. And you really want to work with children, but you think about going back to school and becoming a teacher, and it's like, oh man, teachers don't make that much money, and it's kind of scary to go back to school at this age. But I really want to talk about children, and I'm passionate about children, and I want to share my gifts with children. And yet every time you bring up children, let's say among a bunch of friends who maybe don't have their own children, aren't in a place to care for children, and you bring that out and they're like, oh dude, like you don't want to be a teacher, like, oh my God, they make no money. You make a ton of money, you're an IT worker, everybody's going to need an IT professional. And you're like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But yet in reality, that part of yourself that yearns to come out and be expressed, and then when you think about it and you're actively reflecting and you're like, gosh, if I could do that though, it would feel so good. That's when you start to pick up on that level of emotional fulfillment. And that emotional fulfillment ties directly to finding your spiritual purpose in the greater collective experience. Our emotional fulfillment is directly tied to that. And that is also what is directly tied to us discovering where we find meaning in our life, where we find meaning in our experience. So this week is about being open and receptive to each and every time you take action with regards to yourself in any type of interpersonal connection. See what comes back. See what you receive from others. And that is going to be, again, your compass as to some aspect of your life, whether it's work, whether it's home, whether it's in a hobby setting, whether it's just in family situations, whatever it is, that there's some aspect that needs to change, and that now it's time to be receptive to those that actually will receive who you are, receive the cup that you have that's full, and meet it with their cup that's full. And full on an equal basis, not full because you have to bypass yourself to help elevate yours or pour from your cup into theirs. It's you two coming together with two full cups. All right, Pisces, I hope that this has been a good reading. I'm sorry for interrupting it twice, but it was such a positive message. Sometimes I start over from the beginning when that happens, and for you guys, the opening message was so clear that I knew that once I sat back down, I'd get right back into it. So I hope you enjoy the message. If you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one tarot reading, the link to my website is in the description box below. And I greatly appreciate likes, subscribes, and any comments. And I also thank you for watching this, as it gives me a platform to be able to do what I find emotional fulfillment in, which is creating these videos. And it allows me to continue to further my spiritual purpose. So thank you for watching. Bye, Pisces.